In today's video, we are in Central America, in the USA Peninsula, named by National Geographic as the most biologically intense place on Earth. In this lush jungle of Costa Rica, a Canadian couple decided to self-build an off-grid paradise, consisting of two beautiful sustainable villas, surrounded by 50 hectares of primary and secondary forest, wildlife, and waterfalls. Hey, listen! Let's meet the owners and take a tour of their property.
We're from just north of Toronto in Ontario, Canada.
Why did you choose Costa Rica?
I think we're just really big nature lovers and found that this was the spot that would deliver that atmosphere for us, for sure. It's a safe country where we can raise our daughter and feel safe and comfortable, and being and be warm and sort of being like the heart of ecotourism on this side of the world. At least it seemed like a no-brainer. Costa Rica, definitely. We moved here in January of 2018, spent about 6 months looking for the perfect property, and then we found this one, and at the time there was nothing here. It was just a barren field. It was like a great experiment to try and plant paradise here. So
we started with 12 hectares and now we have just over 50 hectares.
It's a lot of work to keep all that maintained. Now we have several kilometers of trails throughout the property that take a lot of maintenance. Trails that you use to access the river where the waterfalls are, and other trails to just explore the forest. We started with the first house, and we decided we would build it like a rental villa, but one that was big enough for us to live comfortably in while we developed the rest of the property. And once we got that more or less habitable for ourselves, then we switched gears and we started building this unit. And now this one is rented and doing well. We can continue building further units and exploring more possibilities of what we can do with the property.
This is the first villa. This is the family room, living space, full kitchen with everything you could need. It's fully stocked. It has a gas stove top, fridge, all of the cooking utensils and everything you need. Stairway to upstairs. It's sort of half indoors, half outdoors. So now we're at the top of the stairs. This is the balcony with a beautiful view of the ocean and all of the fruit trees. There's so many birds here. It's like you can just sit here and watch birds all day or see the animals through the property. This is the guest room. There's room for 4 people to sleep, and the full bathroom is up here with a beautiful bathtub and nice shower, all with a view of the ocean. It's very comfortable and beautiful.
A lot of fun building here because of some of the challenges of living off-grid, for one, and also the road coming up to our place is a very narrow mountain path, so getting materials brought up has been difficult. But we're also really focused on trying to use as many renewable materials as possible. So here in Costa Rica, this type of bamboo, the guadua species of bamboo, is incredible for building, and it grows to more or less this size within 5 years, but can last 25 or 30 years. So it's an amazing option for renewable building materials. The flooring and almost all of the other wood construction in this house is teak as well, which is farmed here locally. So buying the teak from local farmers is great for the community, great for just supporting the local economy in that way. The roof is a favorite of ours. It's we've used the synthetic palm leaf option, which we find amazing here in the jungle because in the direct sun it's a lot cooler than any other option, and in the heavy rains of the rainy season it's a lot quieter. So those were 2 of our major complaints with a lot of the roofing materials here. So we kind of spent the first year really thinking carefully about what kinds of materials we wanted to use, and that's what we came up with. So also it looks right. It's got the right aesthetic. So this is a completely off-grid property, and we use a combination of solar panels, but not very many, because down in the river we have a Pelton wheel turbine. And so the turbine was one of One of my first projects, we wouldn't have been able to build any of this without having that turbine going, because it provides tons of power all the way, 24 hours a day. So at 3 in the morning, when other people's batteries are suffering and dropping, ours are just charging. We have a backup generator as well. In some situations we might need it, but most of the time the turbine is enough power to produce for both houses. The turbine that I have right now is making roughly about 400 watts continuously, which doesn't sound like a lot, but with 8 batteries, all night long, it's just charging. We're lucky on this property. We have a number of different water springs, points where within our property the water just spills out of the rocks.
What about the toilet system?
The septic systems, both houses have a gray water and a black water system. So we have 2 large cement catchment tanks and a drainage field that goes out from there. One of the things we noticed when we first moved up to this property was that the Scarlet Macaws are always passing back and forth. So they sort of go down in the morning to the beach where they can find the almond trees that they love, and then they head back up into the mountains at night to their roosts. And we wanted to make them stop and hang out for a little while, so we found a bunch of almond tree saplings. So I tried to plant this Scarlet Macaw runway so they would land here, and it took about 3 years, but this year finally the almond trees started producing fruit. And the first morning I woke up and heard the Scarlet Macaws landing in the tree was like mission success. This is our house that we're living in, and we worked on the design of this ourselves and engineered the bamboo construction. I lived on the property for about 4 months while we were designing the house, and I got a lot of opportunities to just sort of sit here and watch the way the wind goes, the way the rain goes, the way the sun and the moon go, and so we really wanted a big open space where the wind from the Gulf would come up the hill and blow through the house. And it works really, really well. It's always cooler and more refreshing inside the house. Some people immediately think, well, there are no screens or windows to keep you safe, but here in the mountains there are very few mosquitoes or biting insects, so it's really comfortable all night long. We usually sleep with 2 blankets.
Did you ever find any snakes or any?
Just twice.
2 times in 5 years. One night I was making some toast, and when I pushed the button on the toaster, something came out, and it was a little dark, and I thought it was just the electrical cable. So I went to examine it, but it was a snake that had crawled into the toaster.
Non-venomous.
Non-dangerous, non-venomous snake. So
How long did it take to build?
this house took about 8 months.
Yeah.
About 8 months to build. Working with bamboo, I couldn't do it myself, so there were some engineering problems to solve. And again, everything here in the mountains is a little bit slower. So
There's no real tool rent shop, so it's not like you could call in a scissor jack or those big tools that would lift you up.
machines to help.
Here they sort of tied a bunch of ladders together and hung off bamboo
Way up.
way up there.
Yeah. So here we have the electrical system, and it is divided into 2 halves. One side is for the turbine. So this is the Pelton wheel charge controller. The Pelton wheel looks basically like this, just with an alternator attached to the backside of it. And it gets 2 jets of water to make it spin like this, and the faster it spins, the more power it makes on the alternator. From there, the power comes up from the river and enters the charge controller, and then goes into the batteries to charge the batteries. Once the power has passed through the batteries, then it's in DC form, so it needs to be transferred back into AC, which is what the inverter does. So once it's back to AC, then it connects to the typical household breaker system, and then travels to this house and the other house. On the other side, we have the solar system, so a small solar panel battery charge controller, and a couple of safety breakers. And here I just have 2 small display monitors, so I can get a good idea of how much power the hydro turbine is making and how much power the solar is making. And so yeah, it's a fairly simple system, but it meets all of our needs for 2 houses, and we can scale it up from there. We can add more batteries, more panels, a bigger turbine and maybe a bigger inverter if necessary, but we're finding the system to be really great. First bought this property, it was basically an abandoned cow pasture.
The whole property kind of looked like this section here that's in the valley we haven't got to really work at yet. When we cut the grass, we cut a little bit further every time, and eventually we'll plant something in there as well to make it as beautiful as we're working on here.
I started looking for any plants and trees that would grow really quickly and provide some kind of shade. The easiest one was palm trees, just coconut trees. They're all over the place, just taking roots. So we grabbed a bunch of those and brought them up, and they grew out really quickly. And once those were in place, then we could start trying to pull in lots of beautiful flowers from the jungle as well. So along this side of the garden, we have just about every plant and flower you can see over here is from within the jungle and native species here. And in the jungle, they're alive, but they struggle to create a flower because they're competing for sunlight all the time. But as soon as you pull them out of the jungle and plant them here and care for them a bit, then they produce tons of flowers. And that's amazing for the hummingbirds and butterflies and all the birds. Here is another good representation of that longiflora. The bird will come and land on them and drink out of them like a little water dish. They're really pretty. We have a really rare and unique one here. They're difficult to find. Again, this is the one I was saying where they fill up with water. Plant a lot of papaya trees because obviously it's a delicious fruit as well, but the toucans love the papayas. And so the more of those we can plant here, the more likely the toucans will stop in mid-flight, have a little snack and keep going. We have a ton of toucans around here, so we just need to provide more food for them, and then our guests will be able to see them much closer. This is another variety of heliconia, one of my favorites. I think it's known as the sexy pink for obvious reasons. But again, they all have their own unique shape, and what a beautiful plant. Here in Costa Rica, it's pretty hard to kill any plant. You can be a really terrible gardener and make it look like you know what you're doing. So you can just come in and cut off one piece or two pieces of the root ball, and it doesn't hurt the mother plant, and you can transplant that one around. So once you have enough variety, it's really easy to continue from there.
How many plants did you plant here?
Yeah, it's difficult to keep track of it, but I would say we're well over 2,000 plants at this point.
Did you have any problem with the rain?
We're lucky here because being up on the top of the hill, all the water goes down. It's kind of somebody else's problem then. But no, it's,
There's a few days where we weren't able to get to town, so we do supply or stock up a little bit more in October, but
right. And our road is difficult as well in the rainy season. Sometimes you get a bit of a windy storm, and we get a lot of trees that fall. These trails have all been built by helpers that work with us and ourselves. But the first time we came to look at this property before buying it, we had to walk straight through the jungle and just sort of slide down the hill.
rubber boots and
yeah, with rubber boots and pants, and being very careful not to touch anything. But now with a wide trail that we clean all the time, you can enjoy it in more comfort.
How long did it take to make it?
We're working on it all the time, at least a year and a half. But we just do it with shovels, and if the ground is a little bit unstable, then we add in some wood planks to maintain the steps. But we have a lot more plans. We would like to have handrails and things to make it more comfortable for people.
Stone.
Yeah, some kind of a covering so it's not muddy.
How's the wildlife here?
Fantastic. Yeah, it is. It's getting better and better with every year as well. There was a lot of hunting in the area when we first got here, but now almost none. The wildlife is, they become less afraid of people once you get rid of the hunting. And already we can start to see, the monkeys are coming a little bit closer without worry. So that's nice. 3 out of the 4 monkeys are here. We have the white-faced monkey and the spider monkey and the howler monkey. We love seeing the spider monkeys because they are a symbol of a healthy forest. I like going for a walk around 9 o'clock at night, just even here with a flashlight and seeing random things. Just, there are a lot of different snakes, but not many of them are venomous.
So you're literally living into the forest.
Yeah.
So how does that work? I mean, How do you cooperate with nature?
Try to let it be. You know, you have to stand your ground, because in 6 months, if you don't pay attention, the jungle will try to come and take it all back. But we really try to let all the wildlife just do what it wants to do.
Our biggest problem is probably ants. We try, like, in our house, we'll put out like a little bit of boric acid and sugar mixed together, which will kill the ants in your house, but we don't, you know, we don't treat out in the...
We don't spray out.
We don't spray out in the garden or anything. So we hope you enjoyed the tour of the property.
We look forward to seeing anybody who wants to come and check it out. You are all welcome. So look us up online, cascadescorcovado.com, and come explore this paradise with us.